Poor Balldo, man. You know, I talked about Nick recently, about 3 or 4 months back. I was on with Andy Worski. In between all of his stuttering, we had talked about the good old days and talked a little bit about Nick, you know. And at the time, he had put a video out called Dear John, where he took a massive shit on an ex-fan. And I took a very nuanced approach, and I said something then, and I still stay by it, that Nick Rekieta, out of almost all the people I've ever seen online, came the closest to having a professional career. He was at the cusp, the edge. He was at the precipice of taking off from this YouTube shit and doing something spectacular. And the pressure had gotten to him. And something was fucking his life up. And that's why he lashed out. Well, we've definitely come to find out exactly what the fuck is going on. Now, if you're unfamiliar with who Nick Rekieta is, you're about to get a hell of an education. Now, maybe you've heard of Nick. Maybe you've seen a little bit about him. He's a guy that gained a lot of fame doing a lot of streams around certain trials. At one point, he had 100,000 plus people watching him. Imagine that. Imagine that level of success. You start off as a modest little lawyer from northern Minnesota, reading off legal documents and talking to an audience of maybe a few hundred people. And you parlay that over the years into an audience of 100,000 plus people watching you do court coverage in a unique way. So unique that you have television stations and Netflix documentaries and news articles writing about you. You've got Rumble offering you personalized contracts for big buku bucks. Everything's looking up. Everything is looking great. I mean, there you are. You're a family man. You have the perfect life. You have the ideal life, the life people strive for. A lot of people out there have dreams of what they want. They want fame, success, money. But we also have those modest dreams, those attainable things that are just out of grasp, but if we put enough work into it, we can have it. And that's what Nick Rekieta had. He had a family, a wife, loving wife that he was married to for many years. He had multiple children, lived in a beautiful house, had an inheritance, had a degree in a profession that would have provided for him for the rest of his life. And then on top of that idyllic life that most people would strive for, he found numerous successes. It's insane. And he was right on the cusp, right on the edge of taking that and turning that into something that was going to be amazing. And you're about to hear the story of a man that allowed victory to defeat him. You're about to hear the story of a man that allowed his faults and foibles and follies to his personal vices to overwhelm him, to overtake him, and to destroy that which he had built up. You're going to see, let me put it this way. I think we have a tendency, when we look at celebrities, actual celebrities, I'm talking mainstream here, to wonder, how the fuck did their life turn out like that? Why is Britney Spears so insane? Why is so-and-so such a cokehead? Why did so-and-so become a drinker? Why are they so into casual sex? How could they let that slip through their fingers? They're rich and famous. What the fuck? You know, it's like we can't relate to them because, you know, that level of stardom creates this kind of barrier you can't really understand. But with e-celebs, with people on the internet, it's a little different. When you're talking about somebody with 500,000 subscribers, with a big audience, they're a little bit more relatable. These, you know, e-celebs, these micro-celebrities, I think give you a better perspective into what's going on. Because understand this, Nick Rekieta has crashed and burned in a spectacular way. And he did it on not even 1% of 1% of the fame and success of those kind of celebrities. So if a man like Nick can fail, I think pretty much anybody can. But he really allowed it to overtake him. And it's been something that's built up over the past couple of years. And it was gradual. But near the end, near the last year or so, it's become so noticeable that I don't think that you could watch a clip of what Nick has done or how he's behaved or how he's acted and not see that there's some sort of problem, that there's something going on. And there's been multiple speculation and people have theory crafted as to what exactly is going on with Nick Rekieta. Is it drugs? Is it infidelity? Is he taking, what is it, Ozempic, that diabetes medicine? Is he hooked on the diabetes meds? Is he turned into Wilford Brimley because he doesn't want to be fat? Like, what's going on with Nick Rekieta? What really fucked him up? Well, some people, and I always go back to this. It's a skit from Kids in the Hall, a Canadian comedy show. They had about a office worker regular guy working a regular job with his coworkers, and he gets promoted to look. He's put in charge of like the water fountain. It's nothing. It's just a moderate amount of power, but he goes drunk and mad with it. And I think the level of success that Nick had, even though it hadn't broken into mainstream, but it was quite successful for a YouTuber, I think that allowed the darker parts of who he is to take over. I think everybody sort of has a tendency to daydream. We all do. We like to think about scenarios and situations where we've been on the receiving end of shit we didn't like. Part of life is eating shit and smiling. And we have those fantasies, that daydream of revenge. You're like, I'll show those motherfuckers, and you comfort yourself with that. And it's maybe a 5 or 10 minute thing, and then you move the fuck on with your life. But what happens when somebody has those kind of thoughts, and then has the power to act on them? Well, you'd hope they'd have the self-control to hold back, but in the case of somebody like Nick, he didn't. Once he had access to money and a little bit of fame, once it got a little bit easier, once he got a little bit of what he wanted, those daydreams became a reality. I'll drink when I want, I'll do drugs when I want, I'll fuck when I want, I'll say what I want, I'll do what I want. Fuck my responsibilities, fuck my lifestyle, fuck that idyllic dream that most people would really strive for, that they would want. Now, I'm not going to have this stream be a casting stones at people stream. I've seen people say, well, his friends should have intervened, or the opposite of that, and putting blame on somebody. Oh, it's those fucking Kiwi farmers. They pushed him to the edge. No. I'm going to clearly state right now before we get into this. Nick Rekieta is an alcoholic and more than likely a drug addict. And nobody, be it his friends intervening or other people casting stones at him and talking shit, are responsible for that. That is Nick Rekieta's fault. And nobody can fix Nick Rekieta but Nick Rekieta. An alcoholic, a drug addict, is not going to fix themselves, get better or get worse, based on outside factors. That's their own shit, their own demons. The blame for what we're about to watch in this tailspin into stupidity lays solely at the feet of Nick. Nobody else. Not a single other fucking person in the world. It's not his friends for not intervening, and it's not Kiwi Farms for calling him a retard. We're talking about ceiling cats, or Joshua Moon talking about shower calls. That's too easy of an out.